Welcome to the Sleepy Underworld, a place where romance blooms, magic sparkles, and timeless fairy tales are reimagined for the dreamers of today. From heart-stirring romances to spellbinding adventures, every story is a soothing escape into a realm of love, wonder, and charm. So curl up, press play, and let us carry you away to the land of dreams. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment. We'd love to know in what part of the world you are watching and what is your favorite tip for a good night's sleep. Thank you for watching and enjoy the video. The Maverick's Vow. The creak of old wooden floorboards beneath my boots echoed through the empty hallway as I made my morning rounds. 3 weeks after Daddy's funeral, his cologne still lingered in the study, sandalwood and leather mingling with the musty scent of his leather-bound ledgers. I traced my fingers along the smooth mahogany desk, remembering how he'd sit here every evening, recording the day's business in his precise handwriting. The first rays of dawn filtered through the gauzy curtains, casting honeyed shadows across the room. Outside, a whippoorwill called its morning song, accompanied by the distant lowing of cattle. The Calloway ranch was waking up, and I needed to be ready. I stepped onto the wraparound porch, the worn planks still cool from the night air. The morning spread before me like spun sugar, the sky streaked with ribbons of rose gold and lavender. Mesquite and creosote scented the air, mixing with the sweet perfume of the wild mountain laurel that grew along the fence line. My father's voice echoed in my memory. "This land's got sugar in its soil and honey in its heart, Savannah girl." The rumble of approaching hoofbeats drew my attention. Through the morning mist, a rider emerged, the leather of his saddle creaking with each step of his chocolate-colored stallion. His black Stetson was pulled low, but I caught the glint of eyes sharp as a hawk's watching me. The horse's coat gleamed like polished copper in the early light, its muscles rippling beneath as they came to a stop. "Ma'am," he said, his voice carrying the rough texture of someone who'd spent long nights around campfires. He dismounted with fluid grace, boots stirring up small clouds of dust. "Name's Beau McCade. Word in town is you're looking for help." The breeze carried his scent, leather and sage, mixed with something uniquely male that made my pulse quicken. Up close I could see the stories written in his face. Laugh lines around his eyes, a small scar above his right eyebrow, and a 5 o'clock shadow that somehow looked deliberate rather than neglected. "References," I managed, proud that my voice remained steady despite the flutter in my stomach. He reached into his weathered leather vest, pulling out several folded papers. They were crisp despite their obvious age, speaking of a man who valued what little he carried. The references were impeccable. 3 years at the King Ranch, 2 at the Y Bar, glowing praise from both. The next few weeks passed in a blur of shared work and growing tension. Every morning, I'd watch from my bedroom window as Beau worked with the horses in the pre-dawn light. His movements were poetry, gentle but firm, speaking a language of touch and pressure that the animals understood instinctively. The sight of him, silhouetted against the rising sun, stirred something deep inside me that I wasn't ready to name. We settled into a rhythm, our days marked by the sun's arc across the endless Texas sky. Mornings meant checking fence lines together, our horses walking close enough that our boots sometimes brushed. Afternoons brought cattle counts and repair work, Beau's capable hands making quick work of broken gates and loose boards. His fingers would occasionally brush mine as we worked, sending electricity shooting up my arm. The first time I saw him truly smile was during a sudden afternoon cloudburst. We were mending a fence in the north pasture when the sky opened up. The rain came down in sheets, turning the dirt to slick clay beneath our boots. I slipped, and his arms were around me before I could fall, strong and sure. Thunder rolled overhead as we stood there, rain plastering our clothes to our skin, and his laugh was rich as bitter chocolate. "You're something else, Savannah Calloway," he said, raindrops clinging to his eyelashes. That's when I noticed the flecks of gold in his green eyes, like sunlight through spring leaves. Our peaceful routine was shattered one brutal morning. The air was thick with the metallic stench of blood as we found 2 of our prize bulls dead in the north pasture. The morning sun illuminated the brutal scene. Clean shots through the heart. Professional work. My stomach churned at the sight, but anger burned hotter than the nausea. Tucker Reynolds' threat came 2 days later, delivered by one of his ranch hands. The young man's boots left muddy tracks on my clean porch boards as he handed over an envelope containing an offer well below market value. The paper was heavy and expensive, like Tucker himself, trying to dress up something ugly in refined clothing. The night we set our trap, the air hung thick and still, heavy with the promise of rain. Beau and I waited in the shadows of the barn, close enough that I could feel the steady rhythm of his breathing. His hand found mine in the darkness, calloused fingers intertwining with mine like puzzle pieces clicking into place. When Tucker's men came, the sound of their horses shattered the cricket song. Lantern light swept across the property like searching fingers. The confrontation exploded in a chaos of shouts and gunfire, the muzzle flashes brilliant against the night sky. The sharp crack of rifles mixed with the panicked sounds of horses, and the acrid smell of gunpowder filled the air. The aftermath brought the scent of rain and justice. Tucker and his men were led away in handcuffs, their boots leaving scuffs in the mud. The sheriff's investigation uncovered a paper trail leading back to months of sabotage, cut fence lines, scattered cattle, and poisoned water sources. Tucker's empire crumbled like a sandcastle in a storm. Standing in the aftermath, watching the sunrise paint the world in shades of hope, I felt Beau's presence before I heard him approach. The gravel crunched beneath his boots as he walked toward me, his spurs chiming softly with each step. "Guess you won't be needing a hired hand anymore," he said softly, his voice carrying notes of resignation and something else, something that sounded like longing. I turned to face him, taking in every detail. The way the rising sun caught the silver threading through his dark hair at the temples. The small scar above his eyebrow that I now knew came from a spooked horse when he was 12. The softness in his eyes that he showed only to me. "I think I need more than a hired hand," I said, my heart thundering against my ribs. "I need a partner." When he kissed me, it was like every sweet thing I'd ever tasted distilled into a single moment. His lips were soft despite their weathered appearance, and his hands, when they cupped my face, were infinitely gentle despite their strength. 2 years have passed since that morning. The ranch has flourished under our combined care, the land responding to our shared love like a garden tended by devoted hands. We've expanded thoughtfully, adding a horse breeding program that's already gaining a reputation across 3 states. The riding school we started brings the sound of children's laughter to the property every weekend. Every evening, Beau and I sit on the porch, watching the sunset paint the sky in colors that remind me of my father's stories about magic and sweet dreams. The coffee in our cups steams in the cooling air, and sometimes Beau tells me stories about the homes he passed through as a child. But now, when he talks about finding his own magical kingdom, he's not chasing a childhood dream anymore. He's describing the life we've built together on this sugar-blessed soil, where every morning brings new adventures, and every evening ends with the sweetness of coming home to each other. As I fall asleep each night, wrapped in Beau's strong arms, breathing in the familiar scent of leather and sage that clings to his skin, I understand what Daddy meant about the land having honey in its heart. The sweetness isn't in the soil, it's in the love that grows here, in the dreams that take root and flourish, in the magic of finding exactly what you need exactly when you need it. And sometimes, in the quiet moments before dawn, when the world is painted in shades of silver and shadow, I think about that first morning when a mysterious cowboy rode up my driveway. How could I have known then that he carried not just the skills I needed to save my ranch, but also the heart I needed to make it truly a home? They say the sweetest dreams come just before waking, but I've found that the real sweetness lies in building a life so good you never want to wake up from it at all.